And I joined the Del Webb Development Company in 1971 after graduating from Illinois State University. I joined them in the Public Relations Department as a representative, and my first job was to take pictures of the clubs and organizations in Sun City, and we used to like to take pictures with a lot of people in them to put in our newsletter so the people would see their picture and send it back to their friends and relatives back in the Midwest, and hopefully they'd come out and visit and buy a home in Sun City. Later on, I became Vice President of Marketing for the Del Webb Development Company, and later Senior Vice President of Marketing for the Del Webb Development Company. West. We invited the press, radio, TV personalities, newspaper personalities to come out and play golf on a Saturday. Anyway, Mr. Webb came out one time, and I was a terrible golfer at that time. And he was standing behind me, and I thought, oh no. And it was a dog-leg right, and about 300 yards away. And I hit the ball, but I didn't hit it straight. And it curved, but it went right onto the green. And he thought I was a fantastic golfer. So one of the most exciting jobs that I held was Director of Entertainment for the Sundome Center for the Performing Arts in Sun City West. In the mid to late 1970s, the Del Webb Company was selling over 3,000 homes a year. And it was quite evident that Sun City is going to sell out way before the company had anticipated. And so they had to start developing the new community to the west of Sun City. So I worked with Jerry Svensson, who was Director of Public Relations for the company. And Jerry was the MC at the Sun Bowl. The Sun Bowl was a 7,500-seat outdoor amphitheater, which is still being utilized today. And after a Sun Bowl Celebrity Series show, they would have 1,000 or so people at the model homes. And before the day was over, they had sold several homes. So it was a great, great marketing tool. John Meeker was president of the Del Webb Development Company back at that time. He didn't want to do that. Again, he's from Texas. It's got to be larger and bigger and better than anything else. So he built the Sundome, a 7,169-seat facility with a roof overhead, indoor facility. Initially, it was going to have a bubble dome over the top, but they found out with the dry Arizona climate that if they opened all the doors, it could blow people right out the doors. So they had to put a permanent structure overhead. The I-beams that held up the roof of the Sundome, which you can see behind me, were the largest I-beams ever constructed in the United States. That's how big this facility was. If you stood in the main arena at the back of the back wall, it was approximately 80 yards from the back wall to the front of the stage. If you looked side by side, it was 110 yards across, which meant you could almost lay 2 football fields side by side in the main arena. It was that big. As you can see also from the picture behind me, there were sound baffles that hung down. This was something that had never been done before because the facility was so large that you would get feedback on the sound system. So they had to do something special to have great sound. And those special baffles really worked to have absolutely fantastic state-of-the-art sound in 1980 when the facility opened. Also, which is real interesting, is we had a big antenna in the concrete floor. It was built into the concrete floor, and anyone with a hearing aid with Bluetooth could come in and the sound would automatically go into their hearing aid. The opening night was in September 1980, and the entire Lawrence Welk Show was there.
We bring you the Lawrence Welk Show.
For Saturday night and a Sunday matinee, sold out both performances. It was absolutely fantastic. The following weekend, we had Tennessee Ernie Ford for a Saturday night and a Sunday matinee, and he nearly sold out both performances. It was that big. So it allowed us to do so many different things. A lot of things outside of the box. We had a full circus in the Sundome. We had lions and tigers and elephants and bears on the stage in a 3-ring circus on the front. One of the neat things was, again, we had a slide for life where somebody slid from the light booths way in the back of the Sundome, 80 yards, holding a rubber tube by their mouth, and they slid all the way down to the stage and right over the people's heads, which was really the coolest thing that you could ever see. We did other things. One of the Barrett-Jackson early auctions, car auctions, was in the Sundome. Again, it was so big that we could drive cars in onto the stage, came up on a rotating platform type thing. The car rotated around once or twice, I can't remember, drove off, and the next car came up. And so Barrett-Jackson was actually at the Sundome for at least 2 or 3 years, I think. Yeah, we were very excited about the opening of the Sundome, but we already knew it was going to be very successful with the number of season tickets that we had sold to the Celebrity Series, and and because we had the Sun Bowl and we had some good experience there, it was exciting, the new facility. Yeah, Red Skelton was probably my favorite entertainer of all times.
The other night, though, I went to the theater, and I happened to notice as you walk in, did you ever notice they have, sponsor just blew his cork back there.
He came to the Sun Bowl at least 3 times while I was still the director of entertainment for the facility. Each year, his show was sold out weeks in advance. But each year he came in a week early and stayed in one of our vacation special apartments. And he used to go to visit the sick in the hospital at the Boswell Hospital at the time, and then later at Del Webb Hospital. Every day he went out and bought a present for his wife. He was just a terrific individual. The celebrities, I took all the celebrities to the different point of view, which was in Moon Valley on 7th Street, just as you, at the top of the hill going down into Phoenix from Thunderbird. I think it's called the Hilton today, and the different point of view is still there. Red Skelton didn't want to do that. And I said, what do you want to do? I said, you can come to my house for spaghetti dinner. He said, that would be great. I called my wife and I said, you're not going to believe this, but Red Skelton wants to come to our house for spaghetti dinner. And she said, oh no. Anyway, long story, very, very short. The boys were probably, let's see. The boys would be about 5 and 3 at that time when he came. Not only did he horse around with the kids, but he sat down on the floor and drew them pictures of clowns, which we still have today. And I brought one of them with me so you can see one of the pictures. Original Red Skelton clowns. I was only nervous a couple of times. You talked about being nervous. Yeah, there came a couple of times when I was. And the first time was when President Ford came on our lecture series. We had a celebrity lecture series. By the way, in 1981, we won the National Award for the Best Lecture Series in the United States at the Sundome. And I had to go back to receive the award from the National Platform Speakers Convention in Washington, D.C. We had many, many people, Paul Harvey, Louis Rukeyser, Ted Koppel, go on naming, celebrities that we had as part of the lecture series there. But when Jerry Ford came, his lecture was the day after he returned from the Sadat funeral. So instead of flying into Sky Harbor, they flew him into Deer Valley Airport. I had to meet him there in my car, and I had to drive out on the runway. Stairs came down from the plane. Jerry came, I shouldn't be calling him Jerry. He came, I was standing down at the end of the stairway, and President Ford came out and he said, "Hi." He said, "Are you Don?" I said, "Yes, I am, Mr. President." He said, "Well, I'm Jerry." And he said, "I want you to call me that for the rest of the time that I'm here." Well, again, just a fabulous individual. It was just like having dinner or something with one of your neighbors. And we did have a private dinner at the Lakes Club in Sun City, which was a private dining facility. It's no longer here. It burned down. Another time I became really, really nervous was we had Chancellor Helmut Schmidt as one of our guest speakers. And I had to pick him up in the limousine at Sky Harbor Airport, and I was really worried about the drive from the airport to Sun City West, hoping that with his brogue that I was going to be able to understand him. Well, that was no problem right from the start. But when we got on I-17 at about Thomas Road, a couple of young high school kids pulled up in their car next to the limousine, and they pointed their fingers out the window like guns, you know. So the limousine slowed down, and the undercover police behind us from the city of Phoenix, plus we had Secret Service also, but the city of Phoenix police pulled them over immediately. And of course, I don't know what happened, but kind of an interesting story. Probably the funniest story that I have is Milton Berle. Milton Berle came to Sun City for Sun City's 5th birthday party. And part of it was going to be a show at the Sundome on a Sunday afternoon. And before I got there, my wife and my youngest son were both sick with the flu. And so I had to bring my 6-year-old, I think at the time, well, it might have been 7 or 8 at that time, to the Sundome with me. And so we were backstage, and the show started, and I said, "Brian, now you stand here behind the curtain and do not move, period." I'm going to have to do a couple of things here and there, and I might have to leave for a minute, but I'll be right back. And so anyway, I had to leave for a second, and I come back, and he's nowhere. And I look out on stage, and there he is out on stage with Milton Berle, and I'm thinking, oh no. What am I going to do? The first thing was I better rush out there and grab him. But then Uncle Milty was talking to him, and he was saying things like, "What's your name?" "My name is Brian." "Where do you go to college?" "No, I go to grade school." "Are you married?" "No." Just questions like that. But then Uncle Milty said, "Brian, I have one question for you. Who is your favorite comedian?" And Brian looked up at him and said, "Bob Hope." And Uncle Milty fell on the floor, and the crowd just went wild laughing. And of course, I rushed out, and I had no idea that it was all Uncle Milty had set it up with him to come out on the stage and to say, "When I ask you who your favorite entertainer is, I want you to say it's Bob Hope." A little story offside. I was at Monterey at a convention, and I had just stopped at my room to change real quick for a dinner, and I got a telephone call. And I looked down at my phone, and I thought, I don't recognize that number. It's a Los Angeles number. And I thought, well, I'll answer it. And I answered. I said, "Hello, this is Don." And the guy on the phone said, "Hi, this is Bob." I said, "Bob who?" He said, "Bob Hope." I said, "Yeah, sure." And I said, "I'm so-and-so," or something like that. No, Don, it really is Bob Hope." He said, "I haven't been to the Sundome for a couple of years. I'd like to come back." And anyway, we had a good conversation, and we did bring him back, of course, to the Sundome for another sold-out performance. There were a lot of really, really great people, celebrities that I met over the years, and They were all pretty fantastic people. But we did have a couple that made the other list. And number one on that list was Don Ho. And we brought him in for a Hawaiian program, obviously. And we knew that Don was doing I wouldn't call it a raunchy, but let's call it an off-color program in Hawaii. And so when we negotiated the contract for him to come to the Sundome, part of the contract stated that this was not going to be an off-color program. Well, he got out on stage, and let me tell you, it was bad. And people were booing, and people were leaving, left and right. And it's the one time that I really wish I had that big hook that people talk about, and I would have just pulled him off the stage. So the Sun City Symphony performed at Sundial Recreation Center for many years. And they drew a nice crowd in Sundial, but of course it wasn't that big. And I encouraged them to come to the Sundome. The board of directors of the symphony said, no way are we going to come there. It's 7,000 seats. So they finally agreed to do it. The fellow who was the president of the symphony at the time was director of bands at the University of Wisconsin. And he was more open to this than the board was. But we finally talked him into doing it. The first year we had Skitch Henderson, Rosemary Clooney, and a couple of others, Roberta Peters, and a couple other named celebrities. Anyway, they sold over 5,000 season tickets. No symphony in the United States ever sold 5,000 season tickets in one year. Okay, so one of the other big things that we had at the Sundome each year was a all-resident variety show. The first year we started it out with the Sun City West variety show because we didn't know if we'd have enough entertainers from Sun City West, to fill up an hour and 45-minute program. But as it turned out, we had more than enough. And I mean, we had just absolutely outstanding performers. We had people, that were in the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. We had operatic singers. We had dancers, that Corinne and Leslie and her husband Ray, they ran a dance studio in New York City. And anyway, just absolutely fantastic performers. It wasn't it didn't seem like a local show. It seemed like a real professional, top-notch show each year. And we did it for the benefit of the Sun Health Foundation, which was Sun Health Foundation, the Boswell Hospital in Sun City, and the Del Webb Hospital in Sun City West. And over the years, we raised over $1 million from those performances at the Sundome for the two local hospitals. So in closing, the Sundome Center for the Performing Arts was an absolutely terrific marketing program for the Del Webb Development Company. It helped sell hundreds and hundreds of houses in Sun City West, along with the Sun Bowl in Sun City that did the same thing. Yeah, I think the thing that enjoyed me most, of course, was the Sundome.